All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I am Jordan of Command Escape. Damon is of Command Escape, and he is in the chat as well. We're here tonight with Vacult, who is the man. He's going to be mixing down a track from our very own B.Rio. It's kind of a metal bass house tune. Vacult, go ahead and say hello and introduce yourself.
Yep. My name's Jeremy. Go by Vacult. Yeah, like you said, breaking down the song was a lot of fun to work on. Man, gave me a song that was up my lane, so it's pretty good.
Absolutely. So Vacol, for the people that are new to the stream, or if they're watching us back on YouTube and they haven't been a part of this before, give people a little bit about your background. You don't have to go too deep, but just let them know, a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I've been making music for about like 5 years now. Got like really deep into it about 3 years. Um, Recently had a remix for Electric come out, Dancing Dead. Oh, what else? Um, yeah, I make heavy house music, mix of like UKG, techno, that sort of thing. If
Cool.
you're
Cool.
curious about what I do, what I stream, you can always find me on like Spotify, just Vacult Music, everywhere. Follow me on Insta, get me shows.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, man. We're here for it. All right. So thanks for introducing yourself, man. We're gonna move on next to, if you don't mind, kind of explain to the guys what you're gonna go over tonight. We're probably not, for everybody here. Last time he tried to power through an entire track during the session,
Yeah,
and yeah, I don't think too many of us got as much as we needed from that. So we're gonna go through a track that he's already mixed down tonight, and he's gonna cover just a couple particular elements. Uh, Jeremy, why don't you go ahead and let everybody know what you're gonna be doing tonight?
yeah. I mean, the main thing that we're gonna go over is like sub and like mid bass, how to get those balanced with everything. One of the things I hear a lot in the feedback channel is like that's kind of a struggle for people getting a balance with the kick, getting like harmonics right and certain keys and that sort of thing, and basically show that it's way simpler than it is made out to be. So gonna do that. Gonna go over like side chaining. That's kind of a big thing I hear too, like volume shaping versus compression. Let's see. We're gonna go over some sound design stuff. Thankfully, B.Rio was sent me the project file, so I was able to adjust some of the sound design things in here. So we'll kind of go over that, and mixing from like a good foundation of like really good sounds is so much easier than trying to like save a sound. So gonna go over stuff like that.
Absolutely, sound selection is honestly half the battle with mixing. Sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
shit in, shit out. That's
Yep.
just a really key way to remember that for everybody. Why don't you go over a couple of key plugins that you're going to be covering tonight? That way, guys can kind of have a base understanding of what you're using, and we won't have to stop you too much, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, like FabFilter Pro Q3. Like, if y'all don't have this, like, it's number one. I think most people probably have it at this point, but like EQ8 and like the EQ and the other one, Fruity Loops, like they work, but they're not very. It's hard to make like really intentional things with them and be like very surgical. Versus like Pro Q3 is really good with that. So that's a biggie. Let me see. Oh, whoa. Side widener. It's one of my favorite widening plugins. I'll just pull it up. I use this a lot. Most of the time when I'm like making sounds and doing sound design, I'll make them mostly mono and then use this thing to make them wide instead of trying to add like different voices to do it. This will, if you use mode 1, it'll keep it mono compatible, but then it'll also widen in kind of the best way I've heard. Usually you don't even notice the like tone change like a lot of these wider plugins will do when you go to mono. So doing that one. Another big one. Invisible limiter. This guy. I use it in place of Pro L too. I think a lot of people use the FabFilters Pro L. When I first started learning, I heard this was better, and now I don't think there's any difference, but now I just have this one, so.
I just dropped the side widener link for you
Yeah.
guys in the chat for those who were interested in picking that up. It is $49.99, I think, at this moment.
Yeah.
So
Sorry if my dogs go crazy. I'm sure I don't know if you can hear them or not, but
so
they, they,
unprofessional.
they be hooting. think that's mostly it. I mean, with the sidechain, I'll use Shaperbox. This guy.
So this is your preferred method for side chaining.
Yeah.
We've talked about this, me and you, but
Mm.
why don't you explain to people why this is your preferred method, and why you kind of gravitate towards this? I know a lot of guys in the industry these days are using this type of methodology, whether
Yeah.
it's Shaper Box or LFO tool or whatever, right? A lot of guys are using this methodology for side chaining these
Hmm.
days, but why don't you go over why you like that?
I'm gonna do this versus compression because like when you're setting a compressor, you really don't get to control the shape of like how it bounces back after it's triggered. And with these, you get to like very control the shape of what the volume is doing. So you can shape it around the kick like perfectly. And with this one, I have the kick going into it and it's feeding it. So you can even see like a pretty much on the low one, it follows like the shape of the kick. And you can just do that so easy versus like trying to get it dialed in with a compressor.
Right.
You can also split the bands. So like I have on this mix, it's split. Everything above 238 hertz is getting a little bit different shape. So that way some of the high ends coming through still, but the low end and the sub is like perfectly gelled with the kick.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, that's pretty
I'll
much
go
it.
ahead and I'll drop a link in for Shaperbox here for you guys as well, for those who don't have that one as well. Give
Yeah.
me just a second.
I mean, you can also use Shaperbox for like so much other stuff too. Like I'll use it for like shaping sounds. If I want something that's a little pluckier, I can make the volume envelope. There's filters in there too. You can
Yeah,
you get all of
I mean,
these
and
things
also
like.
there's a lot of add-ons for Shaperbox that you can purchase
Mhm.
as well. You know, they have a whole catalog of additional products that you guys can take a look at. You know, I know some of you guys are mid-tempo guys. There's like a halftime plug-in in there, and there's all kinds of stuff
Yeah.
that you may find useful.
Fancy K, I've never used Duck 2, and I don't know if there is a difference. If it's a volume shaper, then probably not. Like if you can control like the slope, because I know like there's the other one by Cable Guys that you can't really control the slope with. That I'm not the biggest fan of for that reason. I can't remember what it's called. It's like the cheaper version of this, but you get like a set slope and you can move it around, but you can't control like the actual slope like you can with this. That's why I prefer these. You can use the LFO tool too. You can also like if you're in Ableton and you don't want to spend the money, you can use the shaper. I think it's this. Yeah, and this is like basically the same thing. You can do that and create a sidechain shape with it. It's not as easy. Somehow, I don't know how to use this, but then you can map this to like a utility. And it does pretty much the same thing. And it'll like duck that way if you don't want to spend the money. It's kind of a pain in the ass to use though.
Wait,
But, yeah.
a lot of ways to skin a cat.
Yep.
You know. Or if you're just like really into using Ableton stuff, I'm kind of
Yeah.
like that sometimes. I like to use as much stock stuff as I can, just because I don't know, I love Ableton, and it's always been there for me even when I was a broke boy. So I love using as much stuff of theirs as I can.
But yeah, kind of like Pete said, like with this one you can split the bands. And with house, it's not as important to have it split, but with like heavier bass genres, when you're having like a lot tighter of a slope, you want your high end to come in through because your kicks are bigger and everything, so you don't have to pump quite as hard. So having that like split is nice.
I like how Brave the Storm said Shaperbox presets can cause a lot of happy sound design accidents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know,
It's true.
toss it on there and just play with it. See what comes out of it. You know, if it doesn't sound good, you can always delete it.
We gotta get sponsored by Cable Guys at this point. We're hyping this thing up too much.
I know. I would love to also get, you know, like UAD and
Yeah.
Serum and all those kinds of things too. But you know, in due time. In due time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's about what majority of the plugins. I do use like Saturn a lot on this too. I think Saturn 2 is out now, but it's like pretty much the same thing. But it's just a great saturation plugin. Oh, and Soothe too. This thing is the goat. Recommend anyone buys this thing. It just like controls peaks, harsh harmonics, that sort of thing, like really easily without having to like duck them with EQ. Like you can do it with EQ, but just this is so much faster. You have a lot more control. Also side chaining into this. There's so many things. Sooth 2 is the GOAT.
Yeah, we are on Saturn too, just for the record there. Just copied and pasted the link to that.
Sooth 2 though is really easy to overdo and just completely nuke your sounds and like take all life out of them, so you kind of got to be careful with it, but it's real good.
All right, terrific, man. Well, thanks for going over those. I think you'll be able to kind of go through the project now without having to do too much stoppage and going over. Appreciate you taking the time to explain those for everybody here.
Totally.
Cool, man. So what else are we going to get started on here first?
I don't know, do y'all want me to like go through like how I mix the project, or you want me to just kind of go into like the nitty gritty, like how to balance sub and low end?
Why don't you give us a quick overview of how you just kind of generally go about getting into this mindset and where you're at right now, and then you can kind of get into the nitty gritty of what you were doing and put some people to bed if you have to.
Yeah. I mean, when I start mixing a song, I pretty much always start with a kick, and I will just mute everything else. Which I'll do that real fast. Which the kick in this one is pretty good. From what was sent to me, it was a bit... Oh, by the way, other plugin I'll use a lot, which I'll probably show on here, is Size Scope. It's just an oscilloscope, but it makes it really easy to see kind of what's going on. But this is the original kick that was sent, and it's good. It just doesn't have much transient to it, but it has a lot of like that punchy area in here. And so I EQ'd a little bit of it. So you can see without that EQ, there's like, it peaks really hard right here.
You know, but I think you need to move the oscilloscope over a little bit, just because your face is in the way. It is pretty, but yeah. There you go, right there, buddy. You can drop it a little bit, maybe.
All right. Now that we can see, with the EQ on here, it like kind of tames out this area. Without it, it's almost way too punchy, and it becomes like woody. So that's what that EQ is doing. And then I added a top layer, which is just like this little click. It helps it cut through the mix when you have it that way. When layering drums though, a neat little trick is to put a utility on the new layer and invert the phase, because sometimes it'll glue better. Like this is without it. It just sounds a little better with the phase inverted. It can just change the tone. That works with like layers and basses too, just inverting the phase of it. But once I have the kick going, I'll usually go to the bass, which I actually added a sub to this one. I'll go over what it looked like with the old one. So the old sub is muted. Kind of sounds like that. It's a little washy. And I'll pull up span too here. And you can see how high that the octave it's hitting. It's like way 87 hertz, which isn't really subby. It's more like mid-bassy. So I added a different sub instead.
Vacult, could you maybe explain to people where ideally you want your sub to be hitting in the frequency spectrum there?
Usually like with this one, it's between like 30 hertz and like 80. Like your top note should be hitting 80. After that, you start getting into like the next octave. So like actual sub should be right in this range right here. But you can see the fundamental of this new one's right there versus the old one. It's way higher.
And And just for reference, guys, this is something that'll definitely get felt in big club systems. I mean,
Mm,
if that sub is not hitting, you will feel that, and it will feel embarrassing when you're trying to mix in and out of your tracks. We've been there, and you don't want to be there.
yes. So once I get like the sub in there, and I'll just move the top even part of it. I'll just do only kick and sub. Which should be that. And with an oscilloscope, I'll usually check and make sure like the side chain is set at this point. There's like a little bit, and I'll set the slope. There's a little bit of like crossover here, and you can kind of see a little phase. It's fine. It sounds whatever. But like, for example, if I were to bring those, see how the kick and the thing just get all messed up. So yeah, I'll set these. Makes it just a lot easier when you're going through the rest of it that have your side chain set up. And then from there, I'll add the top bass, which I did some work on the actual sound of the top bass, which I won't really go into because it was just very niche for this. But then usually I'll group them too, the top parts of the bass, and then cut out all the sub. Some people I've heard in like other tutorials where they'll like put this filter at a specific spot and like the high cut filter at a specific spot and then duplicate it on the sub at the same spot but the other way. And I'm not the biggest fan of that. I think there should be some crossover. So look out for that.
And why do you feel that way?
I think they should interact a little bit, or else they'll sound like two separate layers instead of one sound. Because like with this, they start to sound like one sound.
So it's matter cohesion.
Yeah. To me, that sounds like one sound. But if I were to like bring this way up to where the other one is, which is like right here, it starts to sound like two separate sounds. And it really doesn't affect the sub that much. You can see there's a little bit of inconsistency right here, but like that's fine. Like they're still up there. But I'm looking at mid bass too and sub. This like relationship where the fundamental sub is high and then it starts to kind of roll off. It does peak up a little bit here, but whatever. But like have it kind of go down like that. So these harmonics are what's going to make it pop through on like phone speakers. But like that overall shape is what you're looking for. But yeah, once I get that set, then it's usually add in the clap. Something I missed too is I will set the kick. Let me take the master off. I'll set the kick. I use an oscilloscope on this, but I set it right about here. You just kind of have to eyeball it. If I'm doing the master, I'll make the go as hot into the master as pretty much I want the actual sound to be. Versus like some people gain stage, but I don't really gain stage. But I usually want my kick right about here.
Damon is pretty into gain staging. That's a thing he likes to do quite a bit. But
Yeah.
that's an item for another day.
Like some people like it. I know the whole analog argument and like the saturator thing, but like because I don't really do much on the master, you just kind of there's not really a point for me. But I set my kick right there so that when the clap is on top of it, it usually peaks right about the top. If I push my kick too hard, then when the kick and the clap come together, they're gonna squish like way too hard, and the clap's gonna go. So this is the first thing you hear when like you're squishing the track super hard. So I usually just eyeball that, set it right about here, and then that's how I will balance the bass too. If I can get it to play. Usually look for the sub of my bass to be right about what the kick sub is, if not a little more. because when I go and I squish it, then the kick's going to go to the top, and this is going to be just about under-ish. Also, I think on the master, I think I corrected the sub a little bit. Yeah, how about ducking a little bit? So if you're like going just the mix, I probably have the sub on this be a little quieter, but it works. So, but I generally have the sub match the kick, if not a little lower. Just like the kick is like home. Like that's what I base the whole mix around, essentially. So once I get that set, then I'll usually go in and get the top end percussion, the top drums. And at this point, I look for the top end on span to be nearing the sub, if not just like a little bit lower. The sub fundamental should be the loudest in your mix, and then the high end should match it around the same, and it should kind of go down and up. It's a bad place to hold, but you can kind of see the swoop. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And then I'll push like the high end. Sometimes it gets really harsh, the top cymbals, and if that's the case, then you can use soothe, and you can chill it out a little bit. And then once I did that on the master, I re-brightened it with this guy, the Mag EQ. So I've got a dB push there, 1.5 dBs on there, at 2.5 gain. But soothe will chill out some of like the really high peaks, which is what kind of makes it harsh. So you see like they're getting that there. It's really subtle, but when you're pushing it, you can really hear it. And it's what keeps that top end from getting harsh, but you're still get that air. So soothe and then re-brightening after is like the sauce for getting really airy mixes. Also, by the way, I think I showed this in the last time, but thermal overhead slam preset, stolen from West End stream. This is the shit. So, big recommend. It's only at like 8%.
So what are you doing with thermal here? Go ahead and explain that to the guys if you don't mind.
It's just a preset overhead slam. I don't know really what it's doing.
Yeah, that's fair. Hey, man,
Yeah.
I like the honesty.
Like, because I didn't make it, just haven't really even gone into it and messed anything. I just throw it on at 6% and it just, or 8%, and it just does the thing.
Okay, so better question is,
Mm-hmm.
what is the thing that you were accomplishing by using thermal and this preset?
It's widening and making louder, and I don't think it's adding any higher peaks.
And you pretty much got or gauge that through the oscilloscope, essentially. You change that.
I'll just throw it on too, and if it sounds better, then I'll keep it. Or if it doesn't sound as good, then I'll just take it off too.
I think that's the best rule of thumb for probably anything. But yeah, absolutely. Use your ears, see if you like it. If you don't like it, toss it.
Yeah. Like 90% of the time it works, but like every once in a while it'll like push it way too wide. Like if the sample's already super wide and that sort of thing.
Okay. And that's something you do on a channel by channel basis. You're not going to slap that on the master or anything like that.
It's on my cymbals group, which is just
on your cymbals group. Okay.
It's just noise based cymbals, because then I'll high pass it, because without that it adds these like this preset will add some low end to it.
Ah, okay, and you definitely don't want that.
Especially wide too. So that's why I put it on the cymbals, because like cymbals are never gonna have anything down there unless you're doing like very niche stuff. But also,
so you just
Saturn,
give it that extra cut.
Yeah, Saturn gentle saturator mode and the mix turned down with the drive turned up will do the same thing as like a glue compressor, where it like adds headroom and squish. So you can see, like, watch this one. If I turn it off, it's on. It's actually lower, but it has the same like perceived volume. So I'm gaining headroom with this, even though it's not affecting the volume essentially, like the actual dB volume. Yeah, that's the cymbals. Shakers, which is kind of a shaker he kind of did. Kind of not really, but I'd put it in the shaker anyway. I'll make these pump, and then I'll use shaper box to duck out of the way of the kick and then get out of the way of the hat. So that way this main hat can come through. Turn it off. Just decluttering the whole thing, essentially. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the top end. The fills are pretty basic, like nothing crazy went into them. Yeah. Yeah, once I get that, the top end progression, the sub, low end, that sort of stuff, then really it's just a matter of balancing, which is just levels, honestly.
Yeah, we're gonna take a quick second.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a quick second and shame Thicky for being late to the Mix Down session.
Thicky, aren't you part of the crew?
Come on, man. What's going on, dude?
Strike one.
Well, we mixed down your track last time, and now you don't think you have to be on time for stuff? Come on, dude. All right. Very, very, very sorry, Vacult. Done shaming Thicky. No, we can move on.
That's good. We needed that.
Shame, shame, shame. I love Augustus.
But yeah, let me see what else as far as this mix. Yeah, once I get all that set, that's when I'll usually go into the FX. Like, they usually come last or second to last. I do the vocals very last. Just because the vocals, like, they will live in the mix, but they don't really at the same time. They kind of take precedent over everything else. So I'll get the mix pretty balanced, and then I'll get the vocals going, and then cut out space in the mix for the vocals. But I don't usually worry about them until near the end. The vocals in this one weren't really vocally. It was mostly ad-libby and, like, some whispery stuff. So a lot of the vocal work on here isn't really applicable to most other vocal stuff. It's more of an effect, but...
You know, though, yeah. I think with house music, in particular, though, that is a lot of guys' kind of bread and butter, though, is those vocal chops. I think if you wouldn't mind, I think going over a few of those types of things, guys would really appreciate that. I think it would be helpful for sure.
Yeah. I guess let me play. I'll just play the first drop, see how I can get an idea of what it is. Might have to turn all the layers on here. Running it back. For some reason, we're not getting everything through, which is really weird. Why aren't you playing?
We will play the whole thing in its entirety at the end of the stream for everybody, just so you guys can hear it. But yeah, you're gonna get it stuck in your head until then. I've been on it with the motion, I've been coming out here. Traveled every city, but they really said it's stuck here. Going to the top of there, really getting down here. Stepping into everything and I ain't got enough fear. I've been on it with the motion, I've been coming out here. Traveled every city, but they really said it's stuck here. Going to the top of there, really getting down here. Stepping into everything and I ain't got enough fear. I've been on it with the motion, I've been coming out here. Traveled every city, but they really said it's stuck here. Going to the top of there, really getting down here. Stepping into everything and I ain't got enough fear. No fear, no case, I got a full face. I want a piece of it, I really want a whole steak. Rushing off the competition, feel like I'm cocaine. Peeping how they move it and I realize it's so fake. For some reason, some stuff's not playing right, which I'm not really sure why. Some of the plugins are struggling, which is really weird. But we are pushing your CPU pretty hard, dude. To be fair,
that's true.
We're
But
asking a lot out of it right now.
I mean, the fills on these are pretty. Like, there wasn't anything crazy with these. Most of the processing he already had, which is just like a little bit of FX and delay, just to give it some space. And then I throw this thing on here. I think I showed it last time too. It just has a lot of like a low pass, high pass filter, reverbs, throws. Which honestly, I might just post this up in the Discord because it's pretty useful.
Yeah, man, I think that would be cool. I mean, honestly, if you don't mind, I know you went over it last time maybe a little bit, but for anybody who didn't tune into last times, if you don't mind, just maybe briefly running over a few of your little chains you got going on there.
Yeah, I mean, I use the throws on here a lot, which is just a reverb into a delay, into a saturator, and then a multi-band compressor, which is just squishing it a little bit. I think I did 3. I'll just do it. Works really good for these like throws. It's honestly just like doing those reverb throws and those like really basic things really fast is why I like to use this, versus like having to set up something every time. Yeah. And then there's also a washout, which is the bass clef easy washout, which I think most people probably have. These things that go. I honestly don't know where you get it, just somewhere online. But yeah, I'll post this thing up in the Discord anyway. But there's just a reverb on here that I can change a little bit, but a reverb dry wet just controls that, decay. High pass, low pass filter that just controls these. It's just really easy to throw on stuff and not have to figure out which plugin you want to use. You can just put it on there and try different things. So yeah, that's pretty much it on this.
Now, for that, is that something that you kind of throw on every channel and you just play around with, or is that something you're only using in particular channels or groups or what have you?
Pretty much anything that I want to potentially either have a throw on or like give movement to. So I put it on like the build percussion, which is a big one. And I can control the high pass filter, I can wash it out, throws, and shift the frequency and the gain just from here and not have to put like a ton of plugin chains. And then I'll also put it on. It's a bit overkill, honestly. I could just put the washout on here. But I just reach for this because I type it faster, I guess. But I'll literally put it on anything that I want to create some type of movement with. So vocals, basses. I think I even have it on here. Yeah, on the top end of these, I'll wash out the bass at the end of phrases. Instead of putting reverbs on, I'll use the washout at the end of like a little hole, and I can control like the total reverb amount instead of having reverb just kind of going.
Neat. All right, I like that. I like that. Now, is there anything you wouldn't use it on?
No.
Nah. All right, cool. I like that answer too.
The master now? I guess you could put it on the master, but yeah, it's just like filters and frequency shifting stuff and reverbs. So
cool.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else I could show in here. What do you think?
So you kind of did a overview and a nitty gritty at the same time.
A little bit.
So you kind of gave us a 2-in-1 there.
Yeah.
Let me ask you. So when you were going through this, what were some things? And this is not to put B.Rio on the spot. We really appreciate you even, giving us a track to do this with. But what did you notice that is common amongst other producers when you're mixing down tracks for them? I mean, what kind of pitfalls did you see Caesar fall into that you see other guys doing?
Yeah. I will the bass, honestly, like the bass in the low end. I'll show you what it looked like on the original, which I changed the call bass a little bit, and I already talked to him about it. He's fine with it, but we're gonna change it a little back. But you'll see like the low mid bass, like there's holes missing, and it just dips down really fast. And you'll see a really big sub fundamental, and just like dip down and then be pretty low. So you kind of see like that hole right there. This is like why it doesn't feel super thick and super like
Sure.
full. It's like missing harmonics in here.
What are guys doing in Caesar specifically here? What did he do to cause that? Is that just in the sound design of his thing? Or is he doing? Is he got something on there that's causing that hole, or where's his pitfall there?
Yeah. So like this was the original sub. If you go into the sound design of it, like this has 10 voices, which on your subs surely only have one, so you're gonna have phase issues with that. And like just this shape in general, like sub is just a sine wave. So like if I were to pull up size scope on here, and I have this cutting off any of the high, and I play the song with everything, like sub is just sine waves. Like it's really nothing more than that. It's a little different shaped, that's how I'm getting those harmonics, but using wavetables that are just like squares or sines, just like the fundamental ones, the basic shapes type thing, with only one voice is going to get you a fatter sub like every time. It's like you really don't need to like overthink sub, essentially. I'll show you what the new sub looks like. Unfreeze.
Yeah, if we could take a look at the before and after now of the same kind of situations, that would be lovely.
This is a sub I made that I use in most songs, and it's just a sine wave, the basic shapes, and I added in the harmonics right here, and it kind of makes a saw shape-ish, but it looks a lot like, see, the positive and negative are going full swing versus here they're not even, so you're not even getting like a full sub motion with something like this. And then this being 10 voices, like you're going to get phasing issues because they're all detuned a little bit, so they're all going to interact. And it's so slow, the sub oscillations are, that you don't want that at all because you're only getting like a couple oscillations per beat. So any interaction is going to be a big deal. Yeah, and then I'll usually have a secondary table here, and this is a saw wave with the fundamental removed. So if I want to add more harmonics, then I'll put this filter in, or this wavetable in. I'll show you what it looks like on this scope. Make sure my big head's not blocking it. There we go. I gotta turn the thing off. Hold up. So that's just this wave right here. And that adds in harmonics. Which up in span.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you can really hear and feel that already.
So that's just this one. And you can see those like first 3 harmonics that are being added in right here. And it's got that shape to it already that you want, where like they just slowly roll off. And if you add that, and it adds like more down in here. And that's all sub is. Like it's nothing really more than that. So like having presets, I think this is even labeled like sub. If you're using it for like just sub, then like it's just gonna cause issues. Like just use a sine wave or a square wave with a little bit of shaping with harmonics. If that makes sense.
Sounds like Vacult's gonna have to make a preset pack for people so that they don't use shitty presets.
I think I've dropped this one in the Discord somewhere, so
Yeah,
I
you
can't
know,
though.
what, we'll work on that together, dude.
Yeah,
I'll get a list together of like all the things that maybe would be helpful for guys, and we can make a little hockey collective.
look at that. People are already using it.
Uh, sa- yeah, we could do a sample pack and preset pack, and we'll send it out to folks that maybe that would be beneficial for, you know.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I see a lot of is just people overcomplicating sub. Like it's not that deep. Also, like with sub, like you want it pretty sustained. You don't want a very dynamic sub because like you can see with these notes, you find a better notes. I'll use a sub. Like in one note, you're only getting like 10 oscillations here. So if you have a super dynamic sub, then like you're only going to get like 3 or 4 that are actually big, and the rest are going to be super tiny.
Sure.
So you want to like fake dynamics in a way with the top bass that's more dynamic. So like on the response, the bass underneath it looks like this, which feels like a super dynamic bass, but the sub is not dynamic at all. It's all just top bass. So if this sub was super dynamic, then it would just feel thin. That's the basics of sub and mid bass. Don't overthink it.
There you go. There you go.
Pretty easy.
So now why don't you go ahead and let us listen to like the build up and at least like half the first drop here, so we can kind of get a feel for all the work you've done and how that sounds now.
Sure. For some reason, like this bass is funky. I'm not sure what's going on with it.
I think we're just killing the.
I think so too, but all right,
Yeah,
I'll just play
I
like the
think we
build
can
and
get
then.
the idea. Yeah.
Coming down with the motion, I'm coming down here. Trouble every city, but they really shouldn't suck here. Going to the top of there, really getting down here. Stepping into everything, and I ain't got enough fear. No fear, no case, I'm gonna pull face. I wanna be something, everything, but a whole snake. Rushing up the competition, feeling like a cold kid. Yeah. Coming down with the motion, I'm coming down here. Trouble every city, but they really shouldn't suck here. Going to the top of there, really getting down here. Stepping into everything, and I ain't got enough fear. Coming down with the motion, I'm coming down here. Trouble every city, but they really shouldn't suck here. Going to the top of there, really getting down here. Stepping into everything, and I ain't got enough fear. Coming down with the motion, I'm coming down here. Trouble every city, but they really shouldn't suck here. Going to the top of there, really getting down here. Stepping into everything, and I ain't got enough fear. No fear, no case, I'm gonna pull face. I wanna be something, everything, but a whole snake. Rushing up the competition, feel like I'm cold kid. Peeping how they move it, and I realize it's so fake.
Sweet.
Yep. It's pretty
Cool,
check.
man. Pretty
Yeah.
cool, man. Well, why don't we go ahead and take a quick break and we can do a duck race, and then we can maybe talk about what you got going on the master,
Yep.
and you know, we can kind of go over any other, maybe a couple other sound design things that you may or may not want to touch base on, and
Yeah, totally.
we'll see how much time we got left.
Let's do the duck race.
Yeah, let's do a duck race. So for those who don't remember, if you were or if you didn't tune in to last month's, we are going to do a duck race, and the winner of the duck race will get a mix down from Vacult. We'll do a second one at the end of this. That'll be a mix down from me and Damon, CmdEsc. There's 2 different mix downs being given away on this stream. This first one, though, we're going to go ahead and do for Vacult. Why don't you guys drop your Instagram handles, or you know, just your names in here? It don't matter, whatever. But give us your names so we can make some duckies. And we're gonna do a 30-second race this time instead of a 3-second race, or 15-second race, or however, but not three. Okay, so we got Void Echo. That's 616. Okay, cool. He's got no IG, but we'll put Void Echo in there.
Void Echo.
Yeah, that's our boy from Disc, as we know. We got B.Rio Spun. Okay.
Do we put Thicky in there? He was late. We'll put him in there.
Yeah, go ahead and put him in there. But I saw somebody say he has to be Thinny, so put him in there as Thinny. Yeah, Gustus, Thinny. All right. So now, who else we got in the stream right now? I think Kalaka is in here, although I know he's still kind of working on one of his tunes right now. So, maybe we'll skip Kalaka. Let's do Gustus. Let's do Pete. I know Pete kind of likes to do his own thing. I don't know
That's
if Pete
fair.
wants to. Pete, you let us know if you want to get up in this or not. I think we got Brave the Storm in there. I don't know if he wants that or not. I'm not as familiar. We got Fancy K up in here. Um,
Maybe the
if
storm could probably
Pete
mix
and
better
Brave
than
the
the storm.
Storm, if you guys want to be a part of this, you let us know, please. Pete says he's good, so we good on Pete.
Let's see how it is,
Um,
Pete.
yeah, no, I get
Wow.
it, but Pete, Pete's got some numbers though. I seen the numbers for Pete on the HD44 control Discord. He's doing okay though, so we'll let him do his thing. All right,
Are we
I
putting
think
a
that's
Cadillac in here?
Oh, Kalaka.
Yeah.
You know what? Nah, it's okay. When Kalaka is ready with his track, we're gonna go ahead and take care of Kalaka. So, I think that's good for this one. We'll go ahead and run. Go ahead and run the duck
All right.
race.
30 seconds.
No, we do 15 or something, bro. That's fine. It don't matter. I just didn't want to do 3 again. That was such a quick race.
You know, we'll do 23.
23
I
seconds.
think this
Okay.
is seconds.
I think it is.
Seconds, minutes, hour.
Oh
Okay.
wait, no. You know what? That's 23 milliseconds, I think, bro. Oh, wait, no. I don't know. No, that looks like 23 minutes.
Yeah. We're just gonna go with
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
All right.
All right. We'll see how quickly that goes. All right, y'all. Let's see how the decks go.
Let's go.
Whatever Jordan says for Kalaka. Yeah, it is whatever I say.
Jordan made the play-by-play.
Oh yeah, play. Sorry, I was over here watching the decks, man. We got
Yep.
we got Fancy K in the lead to start, but Brioche Bun, he's pulling up again, dude. He wants another mix down. Gustus, the dinosaur duck.
Oh, darn.
For the victory, dude. Oh shit, Gustus, and that's good because we just seen Gustus dropped his one of his first tunes today. I think it was an edit on SoundCloud. So everybody, make sure to go give him some love on that, and congratulations, my friend, on the duck victory, man. Hell yeah.
Tick.
All right.
You are the winner.
All right, cool, man. That's what's good, man. So yet another Vacult mix down on its way. Let's go ahead and get back to this track here, and let's maybe head over into the master and maybe talk about some of the things that you're doing there. I know you're a little bit more minimalistic when it comes to the master because of how loud you get everything in the mix. But why don't you kind of go over with some guys what you're using here, and if you don't mind explaining a little bit into some of the plugins that you use for this particular process.
Yeah. I mean, I'll show you like a trick I use on the master to start, which is this automate thing. And on the builds, I will turn it down, usually a dB, as it goes, and then snap it up to 0. And I'll put this before everything. So that way it still gets limited and it doesn't, like, I'm sure you've seen those tracks like in Record Box that look like a Christmas tree where like the wave goes down and then it snaps back up. This will prevent that. People that are doing that are automating this master right here, and it's just funky. But yeah, I'll turn it down a dB and then snap it back on the drop, and it just makes the drop feel so much louder. And I'll do the same thing kind of with the width, where I'll turn the width down as the build goes, and then have it go back up to 100%. So I'll just play a little bit.
And do you just start? Do you just where are you starting at on that line? Are you starting at 100 there as well, or?
Yep.
Or okay.
That way the intro and the everything else is fine. It's just the build that's getting affected. So I mean, I can just play it what it sounds like with and without that. Like, it's pretty subtle, but
Yeah, sure.
No fear, no case, I'm a gun up on face. I wanna be simply everything, want a whole snake. Rushing up the cup because you feel like a cold kid.
So I still try to achieve what that's doing through the mix by like just making sure things aren't getting super wide and loud in the build. But with this on,
No fear, no case, I'm a gun up on face. I wanna be simply everything, want a whole snake. Rushing up the cup because you feel like a cold kid.
like, it just adds that little tiny bit that makes that drop feel so much more powerful. And then when it's squished, it dulls its effect a little bit, so it does sound like it's getting too quiet right here. But when it's limited and the drop is brought down and the build's brought back up, then it works. I don't know. It adds a different feel. Like it doesn't feel as squished here, and squished adds energy if it's done right. So that's usually
No,
first
that's
in the
very
chain.
cool. I don't think I've seen anybody really do that. I mean, not that I'm diving into tutorials too often these days, but I mean that's something new for me that I haven't seen somebody do. So that's really cool.
Yeah, you can also, sometimes it sounds better if you right click this width. You can do mid-side mode, and that will turn it to just the mono, like what would be in the mid, versus the width will sum it together. So you get a little bit of different effect. But I generally use the width because I like it to get kind of crappy through summation and then go really good. But it just depends. After that, I usually have a clipper. This is what I'm mixing into. A clipper set to, this is normally set to 0. But I do this instead of limiting because if I push it too loud, this will tell me. Versus the limiter will be, it'll just push it down and it'll give me a fake sense of security. But like if I'm pushing sub too loud, this will just distort. But I put it first, it deals with transients. Let's see if it might play. My GPU does not like when this is open.
Yeah.
It's not really even clipping, but you just have that first. And then I turned it down.
No, I see you're using K-clip. I get asked all the time, what is the difference between using all these different, clippers? Why do you use K-clip versus any of the other ones out there, T-Rax or anything else?
I think K-clip is one of the few that has this link button, which doesn't really work on the master, but I'll show you on like other things. With the link button, you can turn things up and down at the same time. So it doesn't actually change the volume, it just clips. And I don't know that a lot of clippers have that. Don't remember what levels this was at, but
Command Z.
I wish it. I don't think it works with this. Oh well.
Ah.
But I don't know that other clippers can do that. K-clip 0 is free also. K-clip 3, which is like the beefier one, which I have later in the chain. This one's paid, but yeah, it's honestly one of the best clippers just because a clipper's a clipper, and this is hard clipping.
Okay.
It doesn't like to have it open.
Yeah, you got 2 of them open.
Yeah.
Too, so
Hold, please.
you might have just wigged yourself out here,
I must
friend.
have. For some reason, K-clip, like, just for me, it makes my computer short out a little bit. I've never seen it on anybody else's. I'm going to have to reinstall it or something, but I always have to give it a moment. There we go. Whoop.
There we go.
After that, got a Pro Q, and then I will also produce and mix with this filter on, which is just cutting out all the side information below 100 Hertz. Like normally I'll have my sub be in mono, but through aliasing and heavy distortion, which is a lot to explain, but there's a great Dan Worrell video on YouTube on what aliasing is. You'll get some stereo and sub even if you don't have a stereo sub. So that just kind of cuts that out. And the side works because it doesn't sum it. It just cuts out what would be on the sides, like a mid-side knob over here. But with this one, I chilled out the sub a little bit and I made it dynamics. That way I don't know if the kick sub is I don't think it's being affected by it. A tiny bit, it's barely going down. I honestly don't even know if that's making a big of a difference, but I put it there anyway. And then I beefed up the mids a little bit. If you look on span, this area was kind of lacking. It was kind of scooped down a little bit. And I made it dynamic because that vocal comes in hot sometimes. So if I turn that vocal or turn this up without it being dynamic, the vocal will also get a big old boost. So with this, when the vocal crosses a threshold and mix crosses threshold, it just goes back down to 0. So it's not boosting anymore. So just where it needs to get boosted, it'll get boosted. I think it's expansion technically. Form of expansion compression, but. And then I turn up the sides on just the super high, and that helps get that air. It's super subtle, but That's because I've done most of the work in the mix itself, but it just kind of helps give a little bit. Just a dB 0.25 on the sides. After that, mag EQ. This airband is like the holy grail of everything, and I love it. So if you can buy a mag EQ, I definitely recommend doing it. And that adds a huge difference for like that airiness in the top end. This one I'm also turn the sub down. 160 up.
Quick note. A quick note. Pete, no, you're not allowed to try that, bud. You didn't want to be part of the duck race, so you were not allowed to try that trick. That is a Vacult. That's a Vacult copyright right there, stamping it.
If I see it, I'm charging you like $3.
Yeah, dude. He wants a royalty check for every one of your tracks that you use that in, dude.
Yep. 10% minimum.
At least, dude.
I don't know if this is also doing anything else because it's an analog emulator, but it might be saturating. I don't know. It just sounds good on the master. And then after that, Oxford Inflator. I've been trying to use this more just because I paid for it, and it sounds good sometimes. But I honestly have no idea what this thing does. I think it adds like positive harmonics in a specific way. It just sounds good, so it goes in the master. Another K clip. This one's getting 8 dB is pushed, and that's pretty much it on that one. And then after that, I will put a limiter, the invisible limiter, and that will get me my target loudness, which for bass house is usually around like -6 LUFS, which I think this is around.
I was gonna note too, bud, that Damon just put in there that he likes Pool Tech for pushing air as well.
Yes, the Pool Tech one is good. I just don't have it. I used to have it.
There you go.
I don't think the Pool Tech has an airband though. There's something
no
about
airband for that.
This airband here that is just so good. I don't know what it is.
And
about
that's
it.
on the mag EQ.
Yeah. But the Pool Tech one is super good too. It's really nice on like everything, basses, all the things.
All the things.
Yep. Yep. Yep, aim for like -6, usually on bass house for the short term. And I'll use the limiter to get me to that point. I usually use K-clip and I'll push K-clip as far as I can go with just clipping until it starts to get really crappy sounding. Like you'll hear the kick start to distort first. I'm not going to play it because this K-clip is making my computer struggle. But you can tell when things are clipped too hard. Like the kick will go first. So I'll push this just until the kick starts to go. And then I'll squish it with the limiter after. That's generally the master.
And what is that you have down there on the far end over there?
This thing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's just when I get distracted. So it's a timer.
Oh.
I usually just turn it on.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. That's fair.
But yeah, Span's always on the master.
Cool, man.
Recommend Span. It's free. It's like
And what are you using? What are you using this band for? I mean, clearly you're kind of just analyzing with it, but if you don't mind explaining that to our audience.
Yeah. Whoa. The shape of this song is a little different than most that I'll do, just considering what it was. But generally, I aim for the sub to be between this -30 and -27, which I think at some point these are supposed to be dB, but there's a slope on it, so I don't know what these mean anymore. But most tracks I've referenced are right around there for the sub fundamental, and then it's just kind of roll off here, and then generally it will kind of plateau and then come back up. And like with this one, I tried to push this up with an EQ right here, and just like it just changed the tone, and it didn't sound very good. So I just called it with what it was. But same with the high end, because there's so much space right here. This high end comes through really well, so it doesn't need to be nearly as high. But if you have a track that's like the actual swoop, usually it needs to be around where the sub fundamental is. But it's a good starting point to aim for your mixes, just to go down and then flat and then back up. That's what you span for. And then this other, the pink back here is the sides, so make sure the sides don't go up above the purple anywhere because then we'll have phase issues and sound bad in mono. Yeah, that's
Cool,
pretty much
man.
it.
Cool.
Anybody have questions about anything or?
Yeah, let's open the floor up for some questions. Do you guys have any questions on what he did here in this project, or just generally for Vacult? Maybe a little bit more pointed towards, you know, things that you guys are working on, or anything like that. Go ahead and give you guys a second in the chat to respond to that.
Or things that you want me to go over that I missed? I guess there's like this little nug of good info on claps. I have this white noise thing that I'll layer on top of the clap, and it helps it cut through the mix. It's super subtle, but like that, it just adds a tiny bit of top end snappiness and helps the clap cut through.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool. Any questions for us, guys? Let's see. It doesn't look like it. I mean, it looks like people may not have questions if they have not asked them by this point. So, for you, man, mixing down house music, obviously a different situation than bass music. So it was a little different with the mix down last time. So Damon's asking here, have you played with any stage limiting? And I think you mentioned earlier that that's not really something that you do, for you at least, in your mixing and your mastering.
Not really. Yeah, because I will like process the sounds like this bass, for example, like within just itself and get it to where I want that way, and then turn the volume up in relation to the kick. So like, I guess kind of stage limiting, kind of not. Like it's kind of gain staging because it's balanced to a set point where the kick is at, but just, I don't know, different.
Sure. And again, every guys have different methodologies. I know when we have when Damon comes on to do his mix down session, I'm sure he's gonna go probably over in depth gain stage limiting, because that's something that he does a lot. So yeah, again, I love the diversity with the guys here in the group, and how you guys accomplish different things. So I'm loving the all the things you went over here today. I think that people really probably grasp a lot from it, hopefully. Again, if you guys have any questions, this is definitely the time to ask. Get those in. But is there anything that maybe you want to cover from a plugin perspective that maybe you didn't use in this track, but you use in your own tracks? I know there's sound design plugins that I'm sure you go to. You say you don't use Serum very much, which is probably antithetical to most of us, So what do you like to use? What are a couple things that you're vibing on?
I mean, for synths, I'll just make a channel. Phase plant, honestly, is what I use mostly at this point.
Phase plant. Okay, so phase plant is something that I mean, I've looked at it and I'm like, dude, I won't use that thing the way it's supposed to be used, and I know I'm a Serum guy, like through and through, and Damon too. He's a very similar guy. We like Diva too. Diva's another one of our go-tos. But what so why do you like phase plant, and how do you use it effectively?
I like phase plant. I'll load up a preset here and show you. Honestly, because you can use as many oscillators as you want, which like you can get overkill at a certain point, but then you can also use like as many effects as you want. So like, sound design thing is just usually distorting, filtering, over and over again. And with this, you can just do that over and over again.
Right.
And so it just gives you like so many more options of things you can create all in here versus having to go and use other plugins.
Sure. So you're kind of able to do a light build of a plugin if you want, essentially, with this, and that's why you like it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. How we doing over here, Vacult? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
All right, sweet.
I'm sure we're coming through. You guys, can you guys hear us? All right, cool, cool. We're back. So
Cool.
for what I was saying while I was busy miming for you guys, is this is the reason why I'm asking him some of these sound design questions is we're getting ready to start some sound design sessions, just like this mix down session. So, you know, we want to be able to help you guys kind of get through all the aspects of your songs, from songwriting to you know mix down, mastering, and sound design. So that's why we're going through these. So Vacult uses Rift, but obviously not often because it fucks up everything. But
Yeah, I don't know what that was
yeah,
about,
man. What
but
else?
yeah.
what else we working with, bud?
Honestly, dude, it's been just Faceplant and Rift have been like my go-to.
Okay.
Like I'll load up, I
Cool.
guess, one of these old.
I mean, when me and Damon do this, it's going to be Sierra Mediva. So I mean, everybody
Yeah.
pretty much lands in the couple of plugins that you know, especially for sound design, that they feel most comfortable in. You know.
Yeah. Because yeah, it's been. Let me check from this recent song what I was using.
Oh man, we are pissing off your PC tonight.
We are. Just not happy. There we go. Yeah, I mean, just Faceplant. This is what this one sounds like, which we can't hear.
Nah, still nothing, bud.
Weird.
I think we thoroughly pissed your computer
I
off
think
for
my
tonight,
computer.
dude.
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
But,
So
yeah.
I think on that note, we'll go ahead and wrap up for tonight. But yeah, just to kind of go over, you know, some upcoming things. December 18th, so that's going to be 2 Wednesdays from now. We're going to be having our monthly feedback session. And this time it's going to be with Birdhouse Records. Jay Bird, who is the label boss, is going to be in, and I think Devlo, who's the other gentleman that he started the label with, he's a pretty talented tech house artist himself. They're gonna both, I think, sit in on the feedback session and go through that. They're going to be signing tracks that they like on air, if any come up. So I know I've reached out to a couple of you guys to talk about getting things ready, and I'm really excited to kind of show them what this group is got. I know there's a lot of bass artists in here, but either way, I think they're going to be really hyped on the level of talent that comes through this collective. You guys really go hard. So I'm really excited for that. Again, we're going to be doing another mix down session with Vacult next month. We're going to figure out whose track we're going to go through for that. I know, Gus, you just won the duck race, so maybe we'll be going through yours. So we'll kind of figure that out, and we'll be in contact about that. Vacult, you got anything coming up, bud, that you wanna share with them?
Not really. Just been grinding out music. Got a ton unreleased stuff that I'm gonna start shopping around. So this next year is gonna be a lot more release hectic. So it'll be good.
All right, to translate, big things coming for
Big things
Vacult.
coming. Yeah.
Big things coming.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm real excited for 2025. You know, guys, I may not be on the next stream. I'm having a little procedure done to fix my zigzag nose I have because I can't breathe. But if I'm not on that stream, I just want to tell you guys how much I appreciate all of you. I hope you guys have a happy holidays, and you know, next 2025 we're going to be doing live shows in Los Angeles. Hopefully we can even get a couple live shows going in other areas. We're going to be doing some live stream DJ stuff within Discord, kind of like community showcases, just so we can kind of show each other some of this music and perform and get a chance to maybe get some eyes and ears on us, you know, from promoters and things like that, if I can get them into the Discord as well over the next few months. If you guys have any questions on like brand development and things like that, we've had a few guys reach out to us to want to offer those services for Hotkey. So I can put you in touch with them if you guys are interested. If you guys have any questions about distribution, getting your music out there, best practices, things like that, please get in touch with us. We can go ahead and help you guys out any way that we can. Looking in the chat here. All right, Damon, appreciate you tuning in, bud. He's back from Idaho, so Actually, we're gonna do one more duck race, and that's gonna be for a mix down from me and Damon, since he's back from Idaho. If we figured, what better way to do that, to celebrate than to have a little duck race. So if you guys would go ahead, if there's any newcomers that weren't part of the last duck race, um, please drop us your name so we can add you guys in. And yeah, fucking sick, dude. That's for you, David. Fucking sick, dude.
Hell yeah.
All right, is there anybody in here right now that we did not catch on the last duck race that wants to be a part of it? Is there anybody else that wants to get in on this? Last sec. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and son of a duck, Vicky. Let's go ahead and let her go, dude.
All right, round 2. 2 frames per second.
2 frames per second. We're having some chop, but Fancy K's duck looks like it's pulling out into the lead. But don't forget about Brioche Bun over there on the outside, dude. He's ready, bro. He took over Nova the other. He took over Nova the other night and now wants it. Uh oh. I think that's Thinny. Oh damn. Oh man, damn. Thinny with the win right there, man. Okay, well.
Thinny's quacked.
You heard it, Thick. We got you, bud. Vacult told me it was quite a bit of work, but we're ready. We're ready for you. So you get a tune ready for us. Send me that project file, and we'll get working on that. One of the last things is we're getting ready to do another compilation release coming up. I know that compilations are a little less exciting than singles, just because we're not able to pitch those to Spotify playlists. They have to just get picked up, which is its own thing. But if anybody's interested in being a part of that compilation, please send me a message. I think we're gonna get ready to do 2. One's gonna be mostly bass music. The other one's gonna be house music. Bass house, things like that. But for guys that maybe this could be your first release and you're trying to get established on the different streaming platforms, this might be a good opportunity for you guys. Obviously, we need to make sure your tracks are in a good place and where we want them to be professionally. But this might be a good opportunity for you guys to at least get yourself established on some of the streaming stores. So
Gustus,
be in touch with us. Send us your demos. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Cole. What were you saying?
I'm saying Gustus. Send those demos in.
Oh yeah, Augustus, I'd love to hear it, man. I liked what I had to hear today. Man. So like I said, I'd love to get you established on those stores and get you out, man. So if you're interested in that, send me over something.
Yeah, calling you out.
Yeah, hotkey is definitely taking over, man. In 2025, I think that what we're building here is really unique. We're artists for artists, and we're really not trying to do any of that gatekeeping shit. We're really trying to put each other on, and when we support one another, I think that's the biggest thing about our collective, I feel like, versus other ones. We just really want to see each other succeed. So if we can keep up with that, and I think we're gonna be in a good place, man. I really appreciate everybody who tuned in and stayed with us tonight. Keep an eye on the Discord. We're gonna have more stuff going on. Is there anybody in here who's a double XL, by the way? Is it because I have an extra double XL hockey collector shirt? I might have your name on it. So if you are, message me, and we'll go from there, guys. I appreciate everybody, and you guys have a good night.
Peace, y'all.